You see this picture right here? That picture is the picture of Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose's hand after the fight. They took the picture. So apparently, the doctor established that she broke her hand, her finger, at the very beginning of the first round. And this is what she had to deal with for the rest of the fight. Now, it wasn't a 5-round fight, but it was still 3 rounds of pretty much pain, right? And you have to go through. And I, for one, myself, I do also forget myself. What do fighters really go through? What kind of injuries, what kind of pain they go through? You know, every time you see, it's so easy to criticize somebody. Oh, they could have done this in round 2. They could have done this in round 3. You really don't truly know what they're going through at that very moment. What kind of level of degree of injury they have. They could have had multiple broken ribs. They could be going through extreme exhaustion that you never felt before, right? After probably like wrestling somebody for 2 rounds. It's easy to say, hey, stand and bank. This is your chance. You know, this is your last 30 seconds. Go get him, Tiger. But you have no idea what they're feeling at that very moment. So hats off to Rose. You know, experiencing an injury like this at the very beginning of the fight, breaking a finger. And like I said, I tweeted about this as well. Check out my Twitter. People's pain tolerance is so low for the most part, general population, I feel like. Like with that kind of broken finger, people couldn't be able to grab something, to hold, to write, type on the keyboard. You know, the simplest of things. But she managed to punch, to grapple, to, you know, be in the clinch, do so many things, finish this fight. And now about the fight. So she lost via decision versus Manon Fiorot. I didn't really predict the winner of this fight. I kind of held it to myself. I thought that Manon Fiorot was going to win this fight, and I was correct. Now, did I expect her to do more? Yes, she did great. She won by decision. I think she was the better fighter in that cage. However, I feel like she could have done more. Nonetheless, I think she still deserves a title shot. It's either her or Erin Blanchfield. I'm not sure who deserves it more, or should they fight for that spot. But I think she was the better fighter, and she's the fair winner. But really, hats off to Rose. She went up a flyweight division. She did lose. Some people had her even winning. Some people thought that she won a round or 2. So it was pretty close in that sense. And I think like I said in the last video, if she loses badly, this might not be her division. Now, even though she looked clearly like the smaller fighter in there, her skill level was good enough so she can try at least and put up a fight, even with a broken hand. So we're talking can she stay in this division? I would say yes, she can definitely stay in this division. She has a chance. She obviously has to fully recover right now, go back to the drawing board, but I feel like she could still make a run in this division. This was a very tough opponent. As I spoke in my last video, Manon Fiorot was a huge challenge for her, and I think she did great, but she did lose. So Manon Fiorot is the clear winner, and to answer your question, like I said, could she have done better in Manon Fiorot? Definitely yes, especially with the home ground advantage. But you also at the same time, you don't know what she's going through, what kind of training camp she had. I'm pretty sure she didn't disclose all details as well. Maybe she was going through an injury herself, you know? Maybe she had the flu that day. You have to keep in mind, before you badmouth a fighter, remember these things. These fighters, unlike in other sports, their pain tolerance is really high. They're warriors. And sure, you could always say they signed up for it. Yes, they did. And they're entertaining us. And I appreciate every one bit of it. All of them, really. So yeah, kudos to both of the fighters. Manon Fiorot, clear winner. So that was the co-main event. By the way, the UFC Fight Night in Paris was great. I love the time for me. I woke up in the morning. I had a cup of coffee. Started watching the prelims. Then I had breakfast. By the time I finished breakfast, the main event started, right? It was like noon my time, the Pacific Coast. So then I was like, you know what? Let's pop a beer. So I opened the beer, and it already felt like Saturday night. It was weird. It's like daylight, early part of the day, and I'm drinking a beer. It felt cool watching the fights, just enjoying it. So yeah, the crowd was awesome. It was great, just like in Singapore. I don't know which one was better, really. But just also a reminder that I feel like there should be no fights in the Apex. Only a few fights a year, honestly. If they can accomplish that again, have fights all over the world. You can't have it every weekend, right? But But that would be really cool. I think it would be great for the sport, great for the fan base, which would increase. It's just not about the people that show up in that arena. It's the talk in the town, right? When you have a big sporting event like this, you have people talking about it, you have meet and greets, you have people meeting the fighters, the press conference, also the audience there. It's a big thing, and I think it's a great thing for the sport. Now, granted, I'm pretty sure it's not easy to organize this, and it's easy to say, hey, let's just book an arena in Tokyo. Let's go here, there. Next weekend, we'll be in Berlin. But it doesn't work that way, and I understand. And fighting markets are not always the same everywhere, right? The sport is not as popular in every country. But yes, I think fighting in general is a great sport, and I think it has a potential to be one of the biggest sports in the world, because it is in our DNA after all. Fighting, it will be always there, and I think MMA and what the UFC is doing is just great. So anyways, back to the event, talking about now the main event, which is Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Spivak. So I predicted this correctly. Please follow my channel. Feel free to go back in my videos. I don't edit anything. You can see for yourself. My prediction was on point. I predicted that Ciryl Gane, being Ciryl Gane, after that loss to Jon Jones, he went back to the gym, he says, a week after that. That gave me a signal, and I believed him, that he went to work, he worked on his wrestling, and his takedown defense, right? That's really, really important. Like, no, look at just an example. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but look at Israel Adesanya. He's still not the best wrestler you can say out there. He's not showing his wrestling. He doesn't need to show his wrestling. His takedown defense speaks for itself. He keeps people on the ground, he gets up, and he finishes them in his own way. He takes the fight that way. He doesn't let anybody dictate the fight. So not necessarily you have to be the best wrestler in the world to be a champion, and that has been proven time and time and again. Now, people were saying that, Ciryl Gane is so bad that he's just a glorified kickboxer, but I think tonight he proved everybody wrong. No, he was an interim world champion for a reason. He fought the best of the world. He got to that spot in the first place for a reason. He was amazing. His takedown defense was amazing. He just stuffed it. He didn't even have to stuff that many takedowns. I think he stuffed like 2-3 takedowns, and that was enough for Sergey to start gassing out. He started doing a lot of body shots on him, and he just annihilated Sergey Spivak, completely neutralized his biggest weapon, and did what he did best. He's kickboxing and his body shots. Great skill. Great movement. Once again, footwork, movement of a heavyweight like him. He moves literally like a welterweight, maybe a middleweight. You can, if you want to be more realistic, but he looked great. He deserves the win. And here we are. So yeah, he takes the win, the big win at UFC Paris, well-deservingly. So now, Tom Aspinall was in the crowd. He didn't really call him out. He didn't call out anybody. He says, I lost the chance to get the belt. Now I want the belt back still. And I still think that Ciryl Gane will be a champion at some point in his career. Now, versus Jon Jones, a rematch, I'm going to say no. That rematch might happen. There's a tiny bit of possibility, I would say. But I think that rematch is not going to happen. I think he will be a champion after Jon Jones leaves, after he retires. I think the division, there is space for him to be a champ at some point, at least, in this division. Sergey Spivak, he exited the conversation, obviously. Now, I don't think it's the end for Sergey Spivak. This is not like a super career changer for him. I don't think this is the last opportunity where he's going to be in the talks for the title. I don't think he becomes this gatekeeper or anything like that. The guy's 28 years old. In fighting years, he's not even in his prime. So he's still relatively young for fighting. Still, he will have his chances, and I think he should learn. Learn from the best, learn from your losses, and he can come back stronger than ever. He has a lot of potential. There's no question about it. And you shouldn't be, we shouldn't judge him based on his latest loss. Definitely not. Now, this also brings up an opportunity for Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis, he signed an 8-fight deal with the UFC. I think down the line, maybe not his next fight, but at some point, I'm pretty sure he will get a chance to rematch Sergey Spivak and get his revenge on him. So that's definitely a fight that can happen in the future. But what did we learn really from this? We learned that Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. If you really had any doubt, if you thought that Ciryl Gane was an easy opponent, that's just a foolish statement. I'm sorry, but not the smartest idea to have. Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. He beat Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane is up there. He's one of the best in the world. And this just proves it. Like I said, the rematch, I don't think it will go any differently, really. Even with an improved Ciryl Gane, I mean, Jon Jones is just levels ahead of these guys. We talked about Sergey Spivak, right? Also potentially beating Jon Jones. I mean, he couldn't beat Ciryl Gane, so the MMA doesn't work. The math doesn't work here, but this is beyond MMA math. This is just Jon Jones is there for a reason. And we'll talk about that more in a separate video. His upcoming fight with Stipe Miocic, what's going to happen in the division. Like I said, Tom Aspinall was dismissed by Ciryl Gane, and I think that's actually a smart move. I think that's an incredible smart move, not just because maybe he didn't do it intentionally, maybe it was completely unintentional. However, this opens up an opportunity for him, for Ciryl Gane. Like I said, intentionally or not unintentionally, we have already Sergey Pavlovich. He's the backup fighter for Jon Jones versus Stipe. Sergey Pavlovich is the #1 contender. I think we can all agree on that. There's no question about it. And him fulfilling the role, being ready at all times to fight, being the backup fighter for this event is incredible. So there's no way that we cannot put Sergey Pavlovich as the #1 contender. There's no argument against that. So in this case right now, let's say this fight happens, right? Jon Jones and Stipe fight. We will learn a lot after that fight, what will be next, what will happen next. But there's no question about it that Sergey Pavlovich will contend for the title, whether it's going to be a vacant title or actually challenging the winner of that fight. He will be there. Now, will he fight another contender? That is also possible, but how it looks like right now, I think he will stay the #1 contender, and that cannot change. Now, of course, with Ciryl Gane doing this, he opens up the conversation of having a fight with him for that #1 spot, not just Tom Aspinall. So things can change in this sport. Like I said before, they can get injured in training. That changes the entire landscape of the division. So now the only thing that we really found out is that Spivak is out of that conversation. Right now, we have 3 top contenders, not counting Stipe and Jones, who will be challenging for the title. And that's Sergey Pavlovich, Ciryl Gane, and Tom Aspinall. Sergey Pavlovich being the runner, right up there. He's right behind that champion. He's the #1 contender. Those 2 guys have to figure it out, or they will fight Sergey. One of them will fight Sergey for that top spot. So that's my prediction of what will happen in the heavyweight division. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think Ciryl Gane is a legitimate title contender at this point. Or do you still think he's a glorified kickboxer? I mean, there's always going to be haters, and I see that happening. And let me know what you think about Thug Rose, her performance, this horrific injury. Sorry, it's not really a horrific injury. This is actually probably an everyday injury in MMA. My bad. But still, tremendous durability and tremendous performance by both female fighters. Overall, great event. Let me know your thoughts. And if you like this video, don't forget to comment. Love to hear you. And subscribe to OctaCage MMA. I'll see you guys in the next one.